Welcome to The First Turn. I'm your host, Hyena, and today, Llama and I are talking about This Week in Warhammer. If you like what you hear, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share, or let us know if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about. Alright, let's get to it. Welcome to The First Turn. I'm Hyena.
I'm Llama.
And today we are talking downtime, holiday edition. Warhammer news. It's always a slow season, but there's always some interesting things that pop up.
Still in the middle of the Grotmas calendar.
Yep. Over the last few weeks, we've had, battle forces released to expand your armies. We've had releases for off games,
MiddleEarth, especially.
That one's been going, and it's still going. There's some cool stuff, but I mean,
and it's to coincide with that War of the Rohirrim animated film.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Which I have not seen.
Which is fine. I mean, you got to time it right, yeah. to capitalize. I get it. Whatever. But we're in the middle of the Grotmas calendar release, and we're getting, continuing every day, getting a new detachment for each one of the, or one at a time for each army in Warhammer 40K, and they are all so much fun. We were just reading a few of them, and it's just like, man, they are, if not top tier, like tournament winning lists, like they're fun. At least they're thematic, they're fluffy, they do a new thing, they get you doing something new in the game.
They're creative,
right? Like we were just looking at the Drukhari one, and it's this like ebb and flow of competition between the Drukhari and the Harlequins you can bring with you, and it's this really weird like infantry heavy version of that, and it's just weird, but it's fun. It's kind of cool
and strong even. Like, I don't know obviously where some of those units line up at their place in the game right now, but just the things they can do, the buffs they can get, which are impactful right away. And then so I think this feels a lot like when a game that people play and they play the same way over and over again, like a video game, and then it gets a DLC or a free LC.
I always think it's funny when like someone is playing a video game where it's usually a competitive one online, and they say, "Well, I main this character or this class or this, whatever unit or whatever the thing is. I main this." It's like, what do you mean you main this? Like, it's your job and this is your field of expertise. You main this? It's such a weird thing to say. It's like, so you like this character and you play this one a lot. Is that what you're saying? And
you dabble in the other.
It's like it's just, I don't know. It's just weird. I'm a so and so main. It's like, what do you mean? I don't know. I'm an Ultramarine.
Right.
Whatever detachment.
I'm a Tyranid's main.
It's just, I don't know, and I don't want to alienate him or make him feel silly, but it's a silly thing to do unless you're like a professional player playing a game.
Right.
Saying I main this, it's like it's weird, man. It's weird.
But these added detachments on the 40K side, it's like how in Space Marine we just got the new operation and the new skins. It's like when a new season of Diablo comes out or a new DLC for Total War Warhammer, the games we frequent, and it's like, that's what this feels like, is they gave us a totally free, no model release required. Here's a new way to play for each of your existing armies, which can actually have an impact on the meta.
Yeah,
it really can.
And some of them go further than just a detachment. It's an army rules update. It's things like that. Like Space Marine's got a pretty big change to how their army works. But I think it's, for the armies that have already gotten books, it's nice. Right, but there are plenty of armies that haven't gotten books yet, and so getting an extra like way to play your army for, I don't know, like Drukhari, it's like I now have 50 to 100% more ways to play.
Right,
like it's big. That's a huge change.
It is,
because like index armies only have like one detachment normally, right?
Yeah,
one or two detachments. Maybe they release a second one somewhere in another supplement. But it's like that's a huge addition to an army that doesn't had that many ways to play currently. So I like the idea, and it's easier to do the more digital we go with the rules.
Yep.
Right. Not. I'm still a little about being gated off from rules because you have to buy a book to do a thing, and it's like AoS I think is going through the growing pains of that right now, and it's like a battle tome is, while it's pretty, I've got plenty of battle tomes from other editions that weren't very old that are gone. I've got special edition ones that came out with battle forces that are already invalidated.
Yep.
It's cool to have it, but it's nothing now. Right. And so they've made some steps to improve it in that Regiments of Renown and Armies of Renown and stuff like that. Some of those Renown things are now visible if you don't own the book.
Yep.
Which is huge, right? So Skaven releases and it's got some Regiments of Renown you can include in other armies, but you don't own the Skaven book. Tough, you're out of luck. You can't use it. Well, now it's you could use it. You can see what the formation is, see what the rules do, what units are in it, but the armies data sheets are still locked. So while you can add those units, you don't know what those units do unless you have the book. That's the next step. Is figuring out, okay, well, what units are in this that need to have their data sheets unlocked, war scrolls unlocked so you can actually see them without owning the book. And then the next step is unlock all war scrolls so you can see them without owning the book. Yep. Make the army's rules and artifacts and that kind of stuff locked behind the book. Fine. If you want to keep going that way, that's how you do it. Let me actually see the unit's rules, though.
Yeah, otherwise it just feels like the slowest Band-Aid rip ever.
Yeah. I window shop for new stuff all the time.
All the time.
And if I have to buy the book to see if I want to buy some units, it's never going to happen.
No.
Or I'm going to go third party. I mean, I won't, but people will go third party and not even use your product anymore for their official play methods, and it's just go digital, save yourself money, save yourself production.
Well, these detachments and then the small Regiments of Renown package we got for AoS.
Yeah.
Same, where it was hey, here's this free, and the rules look like they actually thought about them.
Yeah.
But this free, you can do that with all the rules for the armies now. This is just way more efficient, and it lets them do this where once, maybe twice a year, you're going to insert this freshness into the game with here's new ways to play for your army.
Right.
This is great.
With those Regiments of Renown, I'm already thinking of ways to make all of the regiments Skaven themed. I'm already doing that. I am, and it's funny because I'm hey, this Troggoth plus Loon Boss package that's just 2 models. I could make that a pack master and a large rat ogre.
Anything can be a rat ogre.
But you know what? And in this case, it's it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter what keywords and army that those models are from, because they don't interact with anything to do with the Gloomspite Gets army rules, right? So it's I could theme them to be included in my Skaven army, and it's just here's a lone packmaster who doesn't operate within Skaven's hierarchy of their army rules.
Because it says within the regiment Renown, here's what armies can use this.
Right.
Yeah. And
so it's well, what happened? Well, who cares if it's a large, monstrous rat ogre instead of a troll, and a packmaster instead of a loon boss that still use the same exact rules, that still use the same exact function. Yes, functionally they have the same keywords, but those keywords mean nothing other than they don't interact with Skaven's rules.
Yep.
I can absolutely just play proxy models and kit batch my own Troggoth, Dankhold Troggoth and Loon Boss in whatever theme I want to. And I love that freedom. I love that idea.
Well, and for anyone listening who might not know, so the Regiments of Renown in Age of Sigmar are basically the way we do allies now. It's each army has access to certain Regiments of Renown, and you take them. They have specific units. They have in-house rules in their own regiment. They don't interact with the rest of your core army, but it's a way you can dabble or fill gaps, just if you really like it, ally something into your army. But that doesn't restrict the hobbyist, because you can use them like he's talking about here. You can model them. You could take the Gloomspite Gets Regiment of Renown that Skaven are allowed to use, and like that, you could make them Skaven models.
Make them fit thematically into the army.
Or if you wanted to be really cheeky, you could have the Goblin wearing a rat mask because he's just a sneaky
absolutely.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Whatever you want to do. I like that. And this is the first time in a long time they've actually made it so you can kind of cross Grand Alliance. Yeah. And I think that's huge. That's a huge way to do it.
It's not at a total shuffle way like it used to be. Now it's you get one pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
That you can taste from another army.
So we had a little bit of it when they did the Mega Gargants, because they wanted everyone to take a Mega Gargant or at least be able to. And so they made a specific version of every Mega Gargant be available for every Grand Alliance. So like Order had the Kraken Eater, the Destruction had the Gate Crasher, whatever.
Yep.
Like each one could take a named, basically a named character version of one of the Gargants, which was effectively one of the Regiments of Renown that we have now.
Right.
But now it's like, when they release a Battle Tome, there's maybe a couple of Regiments of Renown that you can take within your allegiance, within your Grand Alliance. So like Skaven Battle Tome comes out, here's 2 detachments that you can bring in any Chaos Army that isn't Skaven. But now it's like, okay, well here's a Chaos Regiment of Renown, the Garroans, right, which are like the old, I don't know, the old new Beastmen. Minotaurs kind of guys that are in Chaos, that are in Slaves of Darkness. You take the Destruction version of them, which feel like, I don't know, Famir or like, more Destruction-based Beastmen, maybe Minotaurs that don't, they don't have Chaos anymore.
Right.
The old like Destruction versions of this race, and now you can bring them in a Destruction army. These are Chaos models in a Destruction army, but you're not. You don't have the freedom just to bring that as a main force. You have this one limited pocket of these models that you can bring. This is all you get to do. You only bring one of them. You don't get to make any choices of what they're equipped with. But here's a fun way of bringing other things into your army. So I'm buying some cool models that you normally wouldn't buy because, I'm a Destruction player. I'm a Destruction main. I don't bring Chaos. But here it's like, hey, go buy some Chaos models and bring them. This is a way.
Or if you're going to creatively model them using the same base sizes or whatever,
right? Absolutely.
Then you can make whatever your own versions.
I was thinking about doing a Skaven version of that.
Ratators or
whatever. I mean, it would just be rat ogres, like feral rat ogres that are allied with Destruction.
Instead of spears or something.
Yeah, like why not? But that's where my mind goes, right? When it's like, hey, I can do this thing, but I'm not restricted to actually getting the correct models. So I need to fix their models anyway.
And for the hobbyist, then if you ever decide that you don't want to play that specific Regiment of Renown anymore, it's not like you wasted something because you still made Skaven models out of them. You can you can use them as something else. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love the idea. I love the whole concept of the Regiments of Renown. I like that they're crossing allegiances now. I've been saying that. I think I've mentioned that on the pod before, where it's like, certain things like ogres, right? Or fire slayers, or most of the dwarfs, honestly, are willing to work for anybody for pay. But like, what if the man-eater unit was no longer part of ogre kingdoms, or not ogre kingdoms, Maul tribes?
Yeah.
What if they were just a unit that was scalpeled out, and we're like, well, they're not in this army anymore because they don't fit thematically, but they are a neutral unit that can be taken in any army as a Regiment of Renown. You bring some man-eaters. Right, because they're just mercenary ogres.
Yeah, and it's like
that's all they do.
It's like in the old world when we had Dogs of War.
Absolutely, any of that.
Yeah.
There are profiteering sky dwarves that will work for anybody.
Yep.
There are stories of them, being hired by different cities from the Age of Sigmar to like patrol the skies and defend the skies from them. That's not an ally situation necessarily. It's like you've literally been hired. What if that was a chaos city and they hired the dwarves to patrol the skies for them? Think they would still do it if they got paid?
Yeah, but you'd have some Chaos Lord in a fortress at an important realm gate that's like, well, we don't want the Stormcast boys jumping in here. Can you patrol the skies and shoot them down if you find them?
Yeah,
and
we'll pay you.
They'll be like, okay, we'll take the money.
Yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So like that kind of thing, I think is a really good precedent to set. And I like the idea that they're willing to do it, of saying, hey, here's a list of all the armies that can take this detachment.
Yeah, it's really fun. I was super excited. And even though they just snuck that in the middle of all these 40K detachments.
Well, because they dropped like, here's all 8 of them in one little article.
Yeah.
Just like, and then back to MiddleEarth. Back to the 40K Grotmas Advent calendar.
Yeah.
That's like, this was a big deal that you just kind of snuck in there. Because there's some cool stuff.
And none of them seemed like too strong. But that's what I like about the Regiments of Renown, is it's just such a nice little, I guess pocket's been the word that we've chosen.
Yeah.
That you can slide into your army if you have a few hundred points to spare.
I was thinking about doing a Skaven, what's it called? The Ale Guzzler Gargant. Just like a really big, like, Skaven monstrosity, right? That it doesn't follow orders because it's not part of the army.
What sort of alcohol Skaven brew up, but
yeah,
it would be something.
I'm sure it'd be glowing green.
Yeah.
But it's like, point remains though, is it's like, because these can be brought with anything, it's like I can come up with any model I want to.
Yeah.
I don't need to follow the actual.
You can even convert like a
model
brood
guide.
horror to be that kind
anything.
of
Yeah, anything could be.
Did you assemble the brood horror yet?
I have. Yes, it's done. My brood horror is finished. But no, I was actually thinking about doing a. There is a character from the old world that was the Castellan of Hell Pit. Gorich is his name.
Okay.
And he was a proto storm fiend. I mean that's kind of like the best way to describe it, because he's like, I mean, he's more like an Eldar horror, like they have with the Kronos and the Talos paint engine. He's more like that, honestly, because his lower body's like all mechanical. He's like got a mechanical spine, but his like upper torso is all rat ogre. But he's got like a power claw.
And Hell Pit was that wasn't Molders, was it?
Yeah, it was the Molder.
Yeah,
it was the Molder city up in
big one. Yeah,
kind of up by Norska, between Norska and Nordland. No, not Nordland. What's the
Kislev?
One? Kislev. Yep. So it was like a one province Skaven city up there in the mountains, Hell Pit. But he was like the champion of Hell Pit. So he was a named character, kind of super rat ogre monstrosity. But like I said, before they had storm fiends, he was kind of a storm fiend. But he's very specific. He's got like a skull head. He's got a power claw. He's got like an extra arm because he's got a mutation. He's got like mechanical legs and spine. Like he's a very specific looking guy. But like making a cool model that's based on him that could just be, here's your Gargant replacement is like, I don't think anyone would argue that this is a Gargant.
Well, and you paid for it. It's on the right base size.
Exactly.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
Yeah, freedom for the hobbyist for sure.
And so, like, I'm cooking up all kinds of ideas. Like I said, I was looking at all 8 of them. Like, what one of these can I convert into Skaven models just to make them fit? And those are the 3 that I came up with that I think I could ally with Skaven. All 3 of those that could just be Skaven-ish models.
Well, and the OG Skaven one that came with their battle tome, I allied it into my slaves for the tournament, and it wasn't super saucy good, but Slaves to Darkness, of course, have no shooting.
Yep.
And so that...
Hey, they have one unit that throws javelins.
Throws some javelins at 4s. But that unit was every now and then taking all those Skaven guns was pretty neat. So I like the Regiment of Renown thing. It's hard to find, but they don't make any of these regiments too big. Most of the time, it's like if you've got somewhere between 300 and 500 points to spare,
exactly.
There you go.
Yep. About 500 points is the top end. Of it.
You can plop these in to fill a gap.
The couple I was looking at was the Gargant for 180, is solid, and then the Troll plus Loon Boss was like 240. It's like that's reasonable. I can fit
and
that
Mega
into most
Gargant's
armies.
higher, but like
they're up around 500.
Yeah. But they got to be. They're like 35 health.
The Sylvaneth one was kind of cool because it was like undead spirit trees. They could be allied to all the death factions, and Idoneth Deepkin. It was a really weird combo of like it was like five armies.
Like elf spirits, kind of, aren't they?
I mean, you know what would be really weird is if Idoneth Deepkin.
Aren't they the ones that Teclis like ignored because they screwed them up and it's like whatever.
Well, it's like if Idoneth Deepkin became a death faction, because they're all about stealing souls and stuff.
Right.
Like that would be an interesting hint if things were to come. You know, that'd be wild.
Slide them over to death.
Slide them to death. Maybe make Marathi's faction destruction.
Because they're pretty evil.
Because they're pretty fucked up.
They destroy some stuff.
Yeah, they're not exactly allies to Order. That's for sure.
No,
they've taken over multiple cities. They've disrupted the plans of the Order factions.
And Marathi's always gone against any agreement that they've made. Yeah. Including her dad,
including her own agreement that she came up with.
Yeah.
It's like introducing a bill in the Senate and then voting against it.
Yep.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Introducing legislation that requires a vote, but then you like delegate the power to an unelected administrative bureau, so they do it anyway. It's like, and Marathi does that kind of stuff all the time. Even when it was like she helped chain and preserve Slaanesh, and then was like
just skimming off the side.
But now I'm going to skim off of Slaanesh to become my own deity.
Yeah. Weakening the bindings and eventually releasing
Yeah.
Foiling the entire plan.
Yep.
It's like, you idiot.
Yeah.
You could have just gotten an equal share with everyone else and imprisoned Slaanesh forever. Instead, you were like, you're greedy. I need 5% more than everyone else.
I don't care what Slaanesh ate all my people.
It's like, God,
whatever. Yeah.
you idiot.
And even Malarian is like, Yeah.
That's the faction I want. That's the actual Dark Elves that I'm craving. Is Malarian's
I have to
faction.
imagine it's coming. It might even be this edition. Why not? Release your new faction this edition. Don't we get about new one per?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I'd love to see Malarian faction plus Ogre update. That's
Ogre's
that's what I want
Yeah.
this edition.
Yeah.
Maybe an addition, like an extra unit or so for the underrepresented ones. Your Fire Slayers, your Iden of Deepkin, like we said. Maybe get a new unit.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to see like line refreshes, range refreshes for Ogres. I want to see Ogres actually take the spotlight a little bit.
Yeah, I want a commitment to them.
Yeah.
Like if
I want them to like make a commitment and say yes, they are staying.
Because the fact that we talked about this ad nauseum, that they made their commitment to Skaven by giving them the story to start for, and then pile a huge pile of models, and it's like, well, they decided Beast were going, and they decided Bone Splitters were going, they kept Ogres. So if Maw tribes are staying, give them something, give them that kind of spotlight.
Show me your commitment to them staying. Then
don't do a book and a model. Like give them not only a refresh, but give us a named character who's relevant in the Mortal Realm story.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would love to see it.
But otherwise, we've talked about that for 2 years now. Malarian needs to get his faction.
Ad nauseum. Till I vomit. I've been
Till I vomit. I think
until I'm sick. I've talked about it till I'm sick. Yeah.
We've talked about it, or at least till all the listeners are.
Yeah.
For sure.
Show us what you got. Show me what you got. Let me see what you got. Rick and Morty. Anyway,
and all that's coming in the new year, whatever's next. And
well, we got, like we said, we got the Gloomspite. Our updater is coming. We know that's happening
with all the wolves.
We've got so many leaks and so many hints at what's going to happen with the Undead faction. Soulblight Gravelords. We know,
which are fan favorite.
We think Graveguard are getting updated. We think Black Knights. We think we're getting a new White King. We think we're getting a new Zombie Dragon or Skeletal Dragon. I'd like it if it wasn't a Zombie Dragon, because I always think it's weird that a faction who's mostly skeletons has a zombie version of a thing. Why not just a skeletal dragon?
A Draco Lich, if you will.
Right, because most of like that type of dead is no longer in Soulblight Gravelords anymore, right? Because we've got zombies, and we've got the two monsters from Old World, right?
Yeah.
The bat, the giant bat, and the giant dragon. And then we've got maybe undead wolves. That's really all we've got left that's holding on to the corpse walker sort of style stuff. Mostly it's vampires and skeletons, right? And so like it sounds like our updates are going to be very skeletal themed. A new White King.
They did give us a new zombie kit last go around with them, though.
They did. They updated it
where they're carrying stuff. And
so there was the kit that came out with what was it called? What was the box game set that disappeared and came back? That was really weird.
Oh,
that one.
Yeah. That was one that was talked about so much because people couldn't get it, and then there was no announcement.
Well, then there were so many models that came out that were like, this was clearly an expansion planned for Cursed City.
Cursed City.
Because there was so many characters they released. The whole sub faction of Soulblight Gravelords was, I think, going to be released as like extra foes for Cursed City. And they just scrapped the whole thing and just released the models.
Yeah.
You know?
Could be.
But what I think is they had the like zombies with the graves staked into them.
Yeah.
As like a kit that came with that. But then they released Deadwalker zombies that didn't have those, but had the same style. Mm-hmm. They were the same style of zombies, but they didn't have the graves in them. Yes, but they also released a new skeleton kit at that same time.
Yep. And it looks great.
And it updated to like the style of the Cursed City. So there's like, I don't know, almost Persian sort of influences it reminds me of, because it got kind of like the I don't know, the nipple helmets.
Yep. And
like the
sabers and kopeshes.
The curved sabers, and then the coin, almost ring mail, where it's like little tiny plates.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, that's kind of what that reminds me of. But that update all kind of happened at the same time.
Yeah.
So they did commit to keeping zombies, but I don't want that to be the focus of a Soulblight Gravelord's army.
Right.
I think the more advanced, higher level undead creatures, are kind of should be more the focus.
Well, I think when they gave us the whole wolf family, the Lycan side and then the vampire side, I think they want to keep that. It's like the spiritual successor to vampire counts.
Right.
And so zombies as a troop is whatever. They could put those in any of the death factions and it'd probably be fine.
Right.
But you're right. It might not be zombie-ish. If they come up with a dragon, it might have a new name.
Right. Because I think they do want to maybe even keep the kit, but separate it off from, from your ghouls. That type of style. You want to like separate that off
from the flesh eater.
Make those different, right? Because I'm telling you, they do not like to have kits crossing in between multiple factions and multiple games, multiple whatevers. Which is why I'm still kind of surprised that the gyrocopter gyro bomber is still a thing. I honestly am. Or the steam tank. The steam tank went back to Old World, but it's still a staple unit in Cities of Sigmar. I would love if they updated that and give us an actual AoS version.
Like the one we saw in the Warhammer Plus episode. Yes,
because there is stuff. There are war machines for Cities of Sigmar that have been hinted at or talked about or even shown visually in the lore that replaces the steam tank. The steam tank is such a Nuln or like Marienburg or whatever, whatever the old cities are, like kind of technology that it shouldn't be at AoS. They should have moved past that, because they've got the walking fortresses and the crab legged like towers and stuff that could replace steam tanks in AoS. I would love if AoS got, or if Cities of Sigmar got a gargantuan, a behemoth, a 500-point centerpiece-y sort of large model that was like, I don't know, like a rook, right? It looked like a rook on spider legs. Just a castle, like a castle turret with cannons. Give me that.
I'm not worried about cities. I think for sure they're going to expand them as much as they can as the human faction, because I think what we got from them was basically a wave one.
Yeah. But what remains is like even that kind of stuff is going to be replaced eventually. I'm sure of it.
Yep.
But I don't think anything that got ported over from Old World is safe. I really don't.
Nope.
And so I want to see I want to see everything updated. If that's your commitment to keeping factions like ogres in the game, like Soulblight in the game, replace everything. Let's get it all updated. And let's get them all separated out, and you can give all those crappy old bottles back to Old World. Like commit. Instead of like dedicating so much production time to Horus Heresy.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Yep. Or I guess it is a new thing that come out, but even MiddleEarth, right? Like Heresy and MiddleEarth have eaten up so much production time that it's like
tons.
It really does feel like it's cutting into.
The two main
games. It really, really does. I mean, as cool as it is to get updated aspects for Eldar, this should have been a long time ago. I think you ate up production time on other things to prevent actual aspects and actual Phoenix Lords from being updated. You're finally doing it now. And maybe a new warehouse, new factory, whatever will help with all this. But I worry about what it's going to look like in terms of importing it or producing it in the UK and moving it over. Yeah. Like that's going to be a complication potentially in the future. I hope there's more production planned for like the main game stuff as opposed to, expanding these secondary games.
Not only that, but like they need the ability also to not say that stores are going to be allocated. Hey, this army is getting an update for 40K or AoS.
How many players you got? Well, we're only giving you 3.
We're giving you $3, a store copy, and 2 for your shelf.
What? How? Why?
Yeah. So that can't be a thing. By the way, but 200 internet creators are going to all get them. Internet content creators are all going to get them.
Right. One of every single release.
Yeah. So I don't know. That could be a production issue. They might still be producing like they're a small time company, but now their volume requisites are higher. That could be part of it. But you're right, because Horus Heresy and Legions Imperialis had so many things from Forge World or older that were converted to plastic, and they ate up tons of production time mass producing those kits. And now Middle-earth, and it's the same thing. You're right. And so now it's like, well, the two main games now got pushed back to who knows when, 2025.
It's still just like, I mean, yes, the starter box, sure. But like, Slaves of Darkness, your third biggest faction.
Right.
Character in a book. 3 characters of the same
By
style.
the way, same character that you already got.
New book that's so similar to the old one, and no updates to the points or the rules for the new character you're getting. It's the exact same thing. Like, that character, the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, has the least rules of any model in the game. It's so sad. It's like Wizard 1, Ocular Visions.
Yep.
That's it.
He
doesn't get anything else. He doesn't get a mark anymore. He doesn't get anything. The spell he knows is in the lore of the army. It doesn't have a special spell.
Nope.
It's just like a brand new character model. What incentive do I have to buy it? Same with the Lord Relictor from Stormcast Eternals. It's like you updated this cool new model. What does he do new? Nothing. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
You know? Chalk it up to the rules were written so long ago. The books were...
Has to be.
These first 3-4 books were written at the exact same time that the indexes were written. Has to be, right?
Yeah.
Has to be. Because there's nothing changed.
If not, we're going to claim it did.
And then it's like, you need to actually... When you release a new army, you need to actually make there be some interest in the army. Something new, something changed, something updated, something's better.
Not we put the same rules in a new cover and charged you.
We want to buy if we're having to buy the book, we want to receive updates to the units in the book, right? And make them better, make them cost more, whatever, to reflect the new changes you're implementing. But change everything. Add something to every single unit in the book. Change something. Because like I don't want to even see, like, most of the times it's like the army rules stayed exactly the same. All the detachments stayed exactly the same. All of the artifacts and spell lores, they all say all the war scrolls except for this one that we added stayed exactly the same. It's like, why did I buy the book? Why could I just keep the index cards then?
Yeah, I almost wish it's like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I almost wished for Slaves to Darkness that I wouldn't have even gotten a battle tome yet. Because nothing changed from the previous one.
Except for the lore. The lore changed.
The lore
for Dark Oath is way worse.
Dude.
That's the only thing that changed.
Yep. And
the lore is so weird now, right? So before, when Dark Oath were introduced, it was, hey, here's these worshippers of chaos that don't realize they're worshiping chaos because of their desperation, right? Because they need help. No one's helping them. Who slithers up to offer assistance?
And they maybe feel slighted by whoever the power in the area is.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so it's like, well, I'm not dedicated to them, but they are helping me, so I'm benefiting them without realizing it or without begrudgingly helping them. Now, the lore is Chaos Warriors are locked into their armor.
Yep.
That's the rules now for Chaos Warriors. Chaos Warriors are Dark Oath people who have ascended and made the path down the chosen path, right? And Dark Oath people now are all Chaos Warriors without armor, who are working to get their armor, their Hellforged armor. There are no more, everything from before that was Dark Oath, all the little war bands from Warcry that were all unique things that embody different aspects of the Chaos Gods without realizing it. All that is just completely wiped away. There's not even a mention of any of it. Now Dark Oath people are
now they're the Chaos Warriors farm team.
They are pre-Chaos Warriors. Chaos Warriors are your chosen. Your chosen are now your champions, who only are in units because they're competing with one another. They're units now who are only working together because they hate each other, but they're aiming for targets that are bigger than any of them can take down on their own. That's what a chosen is now. And it's like a Dark Oath chieftain is someone who is above a Chaos Warrior. It doesn't make any sense. I don't want to go further. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It has shrunk the lore of the Dark Oath so significantly. It took 3 steps backwards in terms of like faction identity and faction development. It went backwards, and it's not great.
Yeah, where it's like the tribal stories of these outcasts and people who have been rejected by and themselves reject society was really neat. The Warhammer Plus episode was really good, and now they just like took it away. It's like, nope, this is the AAA team that for the Dodgers, which is your Warriors, and so they're just eventually, if they're good enough, they come up.
Right. And it's gotten to the point in the lore that a Chaos Warrior is, it's one of those things, right, where it's like, oh, for every one Chaos Warrior, 20 other people have died to create a Chaos Warrior because they whittled down the weakness. Yeah. And in order to get it to the end, you've gone through these brackets and whittled down to being like, here's the winner of a bracket is a Chaos Warrior. And they've sown so much death to become a Chaos Warrior that they're this magical, mystical thing. But then you look at them on the tabletop and it's like hardly ever even makes their points back
right
before they die. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how is this lore even anywhere reflecting what we see on the tabletop? Same with the Space Marine.
Always.
Same exact thing. Which we'll get to that in a second.
A liberator. It's that.
A liberator. Yeah. Or like, yeah, it's just silly. The lore does not reflect what the rules do in the game. And that's what the biggest crime I think we're encountering here. Space Marines are like that, right? Space Marines in 40K are the exact same way. You don't have the damage output, the stats, the weapon profiles to even compare to what a Space Marine is supposed to be in the lore, right? Like I don't know if you've seen it yet, but the Amazon episode.
I did.
You saw it. Okay.
I watched that one
episode of Secret Level.
Yeah.
And it was so good.
It was very good.
I have my complaints about it, but it was a very, very good episode. I want to talk about that a little bit. Spoilers: Space Marine 2 has been out for a while. You played the same character as the main character that was in the Secret Level episode, Lieutenant Titus, not Captain.
Lieutenant. Yeah.
But that was covered in the game, so you got demoted because you came back from the Death Watch, whatever. Is this supposed to be the mission you were selected for at the end of Space Marine 2? Was this the thing he was like, you've been selected to go and do this other mission? You'll be back, whatever.
The chaplain's watching you.
And chaplain's watching you.
Is Ross from Monsters, Inc.
Yeah, is that this mission that he's supposed to be going on? Because this was a suicide mission.
Right.
All 4 of these Marines that went on this, spoilers, went on this mission in the Secret Level episode were not supposed to come back. They sent a captain, a veteran, veteran sergeant, some kind of veteran captain, whatever. He was a high-ranking dude, plus Lieutenant Titus, plus 2 other guys who were veterans on this mission to go set off this beacon. And they were not expecting these guys to come back. That is just completely irresponsible with your resources. But as it turns out, Lieutenant Titus plus the captain guy who recruited him and took him on the mission with him did survive. But
they're like, shoot, now we have to go back and get them. Dang it.
It was a really cool episode. And I think it did a really good job of showing off the movie Marine.
Yeah.
Right? Because Titus, said character we were talking about, he shoulder checks like, I don't know, what is it, basically a Ridge Runner?
Yep.
I mean, that's the kind of vehicle we're talking about here. It's like a buggy.
Yeah.
Like a quad buggy. Not a quad buggy, bigger than that. A 4-person seater, vehicle with
ATV
kind of thing with a gun mounted on it. He shoulder checks it and just demolishes it and keeps running.
Yeah, they're I mean, I know they can't make rules that really reflect that, but yes, a Space Marine is like, so it's funny, as if you crossed universes. Let's say you took 40K and you mixed it with Marvel or DC.
Sure.
40K wins because every Space Marine is like,
if not the Hulk,
right?
Hulk-like,
and then your characters like Thor or Captain Marvel would bounce off a Primarch. Like these guys are so powerful, and standard Space Marines themselves are the Primaris ones are.
I mean, I'd say the Primaris are kind of like Thanos a little bit.
They're
where it's Thanos pre-gauntlet.
They're
right.
Well, they have powers.
Right.
They're over 10 feet tall, and so a standard Space Marine is Hulk's size in terms of height.
Right.
And then they weigh possibly more in their armor. Maybe not as strong, supernaturally, but they're way stronger than like a Captain America type. So yeah, they're immensely powerful. I've seen stories where it talks about them lifting Lehman Russ tanks off of guys and whatever. And now you can't do that.
It's that mom strength.
Yeah.
Right? Like where a mom can lift a
so protective.
off
Yeah,
their own child. Space Marine can lift a Lehman Russ off of us.
Their sturdy training makes them so protective. Yeah. Now, you can't do that in the game, but what you also shouldn't do in the game is give them 4s and make them suck.
Yeah.
Hey, have we talked about Space Marines being bad before?
Like a couple of times. There were some updates, by the way, to some of the Phobos Marines.
So explain
by the
that.
Way. Huh.
I know Reavers have gotten some play recently, but
so they got
which is funny because you have been on Reavers since they come out in terms of hating how bad they are.
I'll tell you what. Now I think Raven Guard are on the table because if you bring Shrike, Assault Marines with jump packs now are OC2.
Yeah,
that's a big deal. That alone, just bringing that chapter master, making this type of troop better, is like this is huge. That's a big deal. That was basically a cotton swab.
Yep.
Anyway, so that plus Reavers getting better, meaning they can actually fight better.
Yeah.
And their leadership demoralizing ability is better. Means that there might be a reason to bring Reavers now because you can deep strike, you can ignore vertical terrain. You now actually have a terror ability that could affect the game because you're at a penalty. Plus, the fact that you have AP on your weapons is enormous. That's a big deal.
Yep.
Reavers and Infiltrators. Actually, I think both might be.
I know Reavers
viable.
have seen some play, and so that's good to hear.
Is Incursors the other one?
It's Incursors and Inceptors. Is it the? But Space Marines were stuck in a weird spot where they had a list that was competing outside of the Divergent chapters, but it was only Ultramarines because Marnius Calgar and Uriel Ventress.
That's the guy with the green.
He's the 4th company guy. Yeah. They were both so good that the only reason you could play Space Marines is not because of the Space Marines. It was in spite of the Space Marines, but it's because those 2 character packages were so good.
Right.
But they've gotten a little bit of an update that might improve what they can do.
So like every chapter, if they bring their chapter master, even if it's the non-divergent ones, the one that Codex compliant, now get a benefit from bringing their chapter master. You get a benefit from bringing Forge Master.
Oh, Pharaohs. Ironfather.
He gives a benefit to certain troops. You get a benefit from bringing Vulcan.
I didn't even read that. I guess
there are Okay. every like chapter master type character now gives a troop a benefit. Which is a big deal.
That is.
That changes a lot of things. Like I said, with Shrike specifically,
I still wish they would take the core Codex detachments away from the Divergent chapters.
I agree.
But anyway,
but the at least the core Space Marine chapter, army rules now are better in the compliant armies.
Okay,
that's a big deal. So now it's a minor thing, but it's important. When it makes Ultramarines even better, which is unfortunate. But now it's when you do. I guess this is my problem with Space Marines, is their tactic for their army is not scalable. Call it right. So whereas like with every other army, the more stuff you bring, the more stuff that gets a benefit from the army rule, right? Whereas in Space Marines, the way that Oath works, their Oath of the Moment ability works, is it doesn't scale based on how big the game is. So a bigger game, you don't get more Oath targets. No, you still get 1 per turn for a total of 5. So in a 1,000 point game, which is not tournament standard, but in a 1,000 point game, you still mark 5 units over the course of the game. Your opponent might only have 5 units in their entire army at 1,000 points. Whereas at 2,000 points, you still get 5 units that are targets. If you go MSU, your opponent might have 20 units. You get 5 of them are marked. Not great, right? It's not scalable. Every other army has the ability to scale up. When you WOG, guess what is affected by the WOG turn? Everything in an orc army.
Yeah.
It's scalable, right? It's not one unit gets to WOG every turn. And so the more units you have, the more units that are excluded from your army rule, right? It's like it needs to be reworked. Whereas at like, you know, at a 2,000 point, maybe you nominate 2 units every turn.
Right.
Right.
And they do that for most things.
Whereas at 1,000 points, you nominate 1 unit every turn. Whatever, like make it scalable to game size. But the benefit is if you are a Codex compliant army, i.e. Ultramarines, Raven Guard, White Scars, whatever.
Where did this update come from?
This was as part of the detachment update for Space Marines. They also released an Army Rules update for Space Marines.
Oh,
they did both.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where the Reaver
I knew the
updates
Librarius
came.
Conclave thing
point,
came out.
The point rules came from, they got a new detachment, they got an Army Rule update, specifically to Oath of the Moment, and to Armor of Contempt. Armor of Contempt is now versus 1 unit's shooting, instead of a unit gets the buff against all shooting. Relevant. Less relevant you think probably, because normally when I consider using Oath of the Moment, Armor of Contempt, it's maybe not the first time that unit is shot at. I consider using it. It's as if like an attack goes to a unit that I know I want to lower the AP on. And that might not be the first attack that the unit gets hit by.
No.
And so it's more of a reactive thing of this. It's like this time this unit gets shot, I lower the AP. Right. So it's a better ability because it's more reactive and less blanket good.
Right.
But the Oath of the Moment thing is the change was, which I've been trying to get to. The change is not only the rerolls to hit, but it's also +1 to wound versus that target if you were chapter compliant or Codex compliant. So that's a big deal. So Dark Angels and Blood Angels do not get that benefit.
Right.
But
or Space Wolves.
But White Scars and Ultramarines get it.
Yeah.
So the benefits that Ultramarines had was that they had all these characters, but they still benefit from this ability, so they're still the best.
Those two characters, by the way, thing. Marnius and Uriel Ventress did go up in points.
They did, which they needed to.
Yeah.
Marnius is too good with his
He's
extra
so
guys
so
and is able to join with an extra character and all this shit. It's too much. And so it's...
Hi, Penny. She's tiptoeing. Be quiet. Okay.
she says to me all the time, I gotta be quiet during the podcast.
That's so funny.
Hey, what are you doing? Hot chocolate? Yeah. Use one of the M&M ones. They're easy. Marshmallows. Huh? You didn't see them? We might be out. I don't know.
How was it, by the way?
Did you like it? Yeah. Okay. You're right, though. This lemon one, or this citrus one, is
undefinable. Can't figure out what citrus flavor it is.
Taste this and tell me what kind of citrus this is.
We got some drinks for the show, by the way, and now the missus is trying them.
I'm a vodka guy in my mixed drinks. I'm not a tequila guy. Tequila gives me a headache the next day, no matter what.
I couldn't tell what citrus it is.
I can't tell what. It's just citrusy. You know what it tastes like?
I think there's grapefruit and passion fruit in it.
So grapefruit,
passion fruit.
But passion fruit might be what's setting it off because it wasn't that tart.
Yeah. It to me it tastes
it doesn't.
like
It just says it's just a citrus liqueur.
It tastes like Smarties.
Yeah. But there was also like
Pixie Sticks.
The passion fruit might be what I couldn't identify because I was like, there was like a hint of black cherry, but it didn't last long enough. It didn't taste like medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Robitussin. That's not true. It's kind of unfortunate when a lot of like drinks have either raspberry or cherry in it. They end up tasting like medicine.
Cough syrup. Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, this would be good if it didn't remind me of being sick.
It didn't remind me of I can't breathe, so I can't sleep.
Exactly. Yeah. This one's weird though. I like it way better than a lot of the drinks we've had.
So we're having Monaco cocktails for those wondering. I never tried them.
They are pre-mixed vodka and tequila cocktails with other flavors. They are a 12-ounce drink that has 9% alcohol.
Not bad.
It is a very high for like this type of drink. It's a high proof.
It is. It is. Marnius is a high proof.
Yep. It's too good.
It's weird when a character is so good, or two characters are so good that like an army that otherwise would just be in the doldrums that would be Codex Space Marines. Pre this update might change stuff, but pre the update, the army would just be in the bottom of the barrel. But you have these characters that are so good that they can carry it up.
Yeah. I mean, I think
that's bad. That's not good design, though.
I think Gilliman's in that boat too now.
He gets played in some.
Gilliman having a second oath target at +1 to wound is also Gilliman's.
And he also went up because of that.
Gilliman's back on the table, I think. Yeah. The Lion got better. The Lion got a lot better, by the way, for Dark Angels. I think they increased his sweep weapon profile. So they changed his weapon profile because like for a while there it was like Gilliman had like 7 attacks with his sword at 4 damage, but he could sweep for 14 attacks at 2. I think that was his profile. The Lion was like, I've got 8 swings at 4 damage, or I've got 16 attacks at 1. It's something crazy like that. Well, I think the 16 sweeps are now at 2 damage.
Oh.
So the Lion is just a fighty fuck. He is insane. But he went up a few points. He went up like 30 points.
Well, and he's supposed to be directly more duelist than Gilliman, but not as commanding.
He is a selfish fighter as opposed to a call it a communal a selfish character versus a communal character, right? Whatever you want to call them. There's some characters that lead armies, and there's some ones that lead armies, right? Like I'm not going to buff you, but I'm going to do the things. I'm going to teach by example.
Yep.
Right. I'm going to do the things that you want to do, and I'll show you how to do it myself. 16 attacks at 2 damage will do that.
It'll do a couple.
That's pretty
things.
nutty.
It'll inspire some guys.
So he went up and he's but I think Gilliman's on the table as being like a second oath target with this new oath is very, very good. But like I said, the new oath change is just better for Space Marines, but specifically better for Ultramarines.
Because that Codex really feels like Codex Ultramarines.
It does.
It kind of does every edition, short of like exceptions where they had a detachment or they had an ability where it's like, well, yeah, I'm going to take White Scars because
White Scars are +1 attack and +1 to wound on the charge. It's like, oh, of course that's good.
But when they took away those Codex compliant individual rules outside of the character,
wait a minute, it was +1 damage on the charge, which was double damage, by the way.
Whatever,
as opposed to +1 wound, which is like 25% increased damage.
That was the old Blood Angels.
That was the Blood Angel
one.
+1 damage on the charge in most cases was double damage.
Yeah, and so they would take like Centurions, which you would never picture in a White Scars list, because they could advance charge
but even like bikers, the Outrider unit used to have like 8 attacks per model on the charge or something crazy like that. It was like 4 attacks base plus 3 extra on the charge, something like crazy. So 7. But they were +1 damage. 7 attacks of +1 damage is the best version of that unit. You know? It's insane.
And when they got rid of those rules and just got it down to a character, it was fine because it's the whole don't punish the hobbyist thing. But now it's like, well, but Ultramarines have whatever 6 characters. So
you can bring all of them if you want.
And you can bring all of them. And so they're just going to have the best option. So anything you do to buff Codex Space Marines buffs Ultramarines.
A disproportionate amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they need a more elegant solution to that or go back to separating those chapters out a bit.
If you're playing this chapter, give the whole army an extra rule.
Right. That
kind of thing. Ultramarines don't get one because the Codex is them.
Yeah.
But every other chapter gets an extra little bump. Right? Yep. Raven Guard, for example, could be like all Phobos and Jump Marines.
Right.
Or Assault Marines, whatever you want to do it as. The Close Combat Marines, because that's what they focus on, get something.
Yep.
Get an extra +1 random.
Yeah, and you could do like Gravis
whatever.
or Heavy Intercessor for Iron Hands. You
exactly.
could do
give them a benefit.
Yep.
Gravis Marines, if they sit still and shoot, they're +1 AP.
Right.
Something, anything, right? Anything like that would be like, okay, there's a reason to now bring this sub-faction again.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love that. I'd love to see that. As long as it's like small things that doesn't break the game.
Right.
Right?
Because you're going to make the points cost.
Because we've seen that happen before.
Yeah. If you're going to make points cost across all those chapters the same, then it's like, well, yeah, I'm going to choose Ultramarines because you have Gilliman and Mini Gilliman who both buff everything in the army.
Not to mention every other Space Marine character is also good in Ultramarines. Tigurius is great.
Tigurius is very good.
The Torellian, whatever, the scout guy is still good.
Talion.
Talion.
Or
There you go.
Scoutmaster
Scoutmaster Talion.
Right,
Still
right?
good.
Yeah.
He's still a good character. Can you still take Sergeant Kronos? I don't remember.
I don't know.
The tank commander? I don't remember.
I don't know.
But regardless, like
But you have Cato Sicarius, who's kind of mopey, but
he's still good.
Uriel Ventress
But
is
he's
very
still
good.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. But I think that is actually what's holding back Space Marines from just having better stats, though, on just Marines in general. Is it's like, well, they're performing pretty good. It's like very specific, limited scope lists are performing. You're right. But it's like the faction on the whole is not healthy.
They've got a version performing in spite of how bad Marines are. It was like when an edition or two ago, when we knew Tau weren't very good,
right?
But they had one list that kept top 8ing.
It was 3 Hammerheads and 3 Skyrays,
right? And
plus whatever,
and it kept top 8ing, and it was like in spite of the Tau army being bad,
right?
That's not a sign that the army's doing well. It's when you see variety and when it shows up in volume, like in terms of number of players playing it. And like, yeah, I don't think Space Marines are good yet. We'll see if this update was something.
I don't like the fact that you have to give them a blanket +1 to wound against a target as an army rule to make their units good. The units just need better weapons. They just need higher strength weapons.
Yeah, why is unquestionably the deadliest main battle rifle in the galaxy, the bolt gun,
the worst
stat profile?
Yeah. Doesn't make sense. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay,
overall, this Grotmas calendar's fun, though.
Yes, it is. There's a lot of cool stuff. So if you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. If you play the game, you've obviously checked the one out for your own faction, but check the other ones out. They're all really cool.
Really fun ways to add to the game.
Yeah,
like DLC.
Less cool than our Regiments of Renown, though.
Less cool. 40K is less cool than AoS.
Yeah,
I might be a little biased.
I'm more of a hobbyist. I mean, if this isn't obvious, I'm more of a hobbyist lately than I am a player. And so AoS is just tickling me better, right? Like the models that they come out with AoS are just so much more interesting.
Well, I think most people interested in the hobby, like fantasy, usually, fantasy is everyone's got a soft spot for a fantasy setting, and AoS aesthetic is just fantastic.
I mean, we had a couple other things kind of pop up for AoS that were, again, more like hobbyist than anything, because they're not really for anything, right? Like we had a kind of a teaser for a unit, a diorama, whatever, of named characters for, was it Boxing Day or something, which is a Canadian holiday, for a couple of witch hunters for AoS.
Who already have models, by the way.
Yeah, they have models, and they have rules, and they're pretty decent. But they came out with they're coming up with a new duo, shared base diorama plus playable unit.
It also comes with individual bases,
of the 2 witch hunters, the Vendenst. Just randomly have new models
it's
for no reason.
Witch hunter team, right?
Yeah, super cool.
Like this has them in their trade clothes.
It's so weird. It's so neat. I thought for sure it was going to be because they had a new book coming out or something that was going to feature them.
Might be,
but nope. Turns out they're just for fun.
Just for fun.
Yeah. Very interesting. But that's kind of how AoS is it's more hobby friendly. There's more interesting things going on there hobby wise than, I mean, Space Marines are Space Marines.
And the game's pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's true. Although I will say the Horus Heresy models that have been coming out with for chapter specific stuff,
the Forge World ones
are really really good. They came up with a new one for Iron Hands, a new Praetor, and man, that looks good. It's almost too good.
And the Warsmith for Iron Warriors looks super good.
Well, they're so good that it makes you wonder why the models for AoS or for 40K are so
Thanks for joining.
plain.
We hope you enjoyed.
Right? Why
Follow
are the
us for more
captains
of our
and stuff
weekly episodes on YouTube
40K
podcasts, Spotify,
kind of
and
boring
Podbean.
compared to these
You can follow
awesome
myself and
Praetors
Llama on Instagram.
from the Horus
We are
Heresy.
at Llama
Iron
Paints
Hand guy
Minis
looks
and Hyena
amazing.
Paints
He's got
Minis.
the the Mark
Music
III
provided
armor with
by Kevin
the
McLeod.
The Gladiator
layered
armor,
plates.
yes.
But he's got a helmet that's from
And as always,
Mark
we'll catch you
V
next time.
with a plume, whatever, like a cog plume. Like it's just a cool model. It's got mechandrites. It's got super Volkite
Doc Ock tentacle
pistol.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a cool ass model. But every single model for Praetors that comes out for every single chapter is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just like you get to the generic ones for 40K, and it's just like, okay,
Well,
it's
and I
okay,
have to
but
say on the-
but look at these Praetors.
Well, I have to say, on the Forge World side, it's been a while because we've been less impressed with Forge World in recent years. But then they did a handful of these characters right in a row, and it was like, oh man,
Because there was
those are good.
you're right. There was the Iron Warriors one that was really
The
cool.
Warsmith looks so
Because
good.
he's in Cataphracti armor, which I love. Cataphracti Terminator armor. There was one for Horus Heresy that was like an icon bearer that was awesome looking. I think there was a Space Wolf one that was
They
great.
did a couple of Sons of Horus that looked really
yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Sons of Horus. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, really good looking.
And then there's a
I was like, I even posted on Instagram. I was like, oh, GW, don't get me back into.
there was a
30K.
there was a Iron Priest Space Wolves character wizard that was super cool. It's like, man, it just looks. There's so much more detail, so much more character in them for 30K than it was for like 40K stuff that are trying to be like generic coveralls.
Mhm.
Yeah, pretty slick.
You could certainly use them in your 40K army if you want. Yeah.
Why not? Because they're trying to flatten it so that units just kind of have a name, regardless of if they're Primaris or not.
Yeah.
You can just kind of use whatever, which I do appreciate that effort, because it does kind of suck when it's like, well, here's your librarian, and here's your Primaris librarian who's better.
Here's your Phobos
And
librarian.
here's your Phobos librarian.
your
It's just like, but the regular librarian has no rules. The Phobos librarian and the Primaris librarian have tons of rules.
Yep.
So why would you ever play a regular librarian? You wouldn't.
No.
Now let's just say, hey, these are librarians.
Right.
Whether it's the old model or the new model or whatever.
One with a cape or one with now. Yeah.
It's whatever. It's a librarian. Let's give them all the same rules. Let them all join the same units. It's fine.
And make those rules interesting. Don't just port the card from the previous edition to this one.
Yeah, come on, update stuff.
Sorcerer Lord.
Yeah. Damn it. Whatever. It's fine. Hey, I'm hungry.
It is that time of year.
It's that time of year where I eat.
There's food. Yeah.
Shall we?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. We hope you enjoyed. Follow us for more of our weekly episodes on YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. You can follow myself and Llama on Instagram. We are at Llama Paints Minis and Hyena Paints Minis. Music provided by Kevin McLeod at incompetech.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.